Still we are in lesson 2 in personal development. We are still talking about one's holistic personal development. Teka, saglit na ha. Kasi pwede pala magsulat dito. So, holistic personal development. Okay, so we are still in lesson number 2. Nice. Pagsulat pala ito. So, of course, still in lesson 2, holistic development. Development meaning we grow up. Of course, we do not stay as we are. So we inevitably grow up. However, our question is, what is growing up like? So nung bata ka, did you even ask yourself, ano kayang, did you imagine yourself to become adult when you were still a child? So paano mo siya na-imagine? Sometimes you're even wishing that time may go fast and you become adult so that your parents will not anymore told you what you're supposed to do, like kung kailangan mo gawin to, magpapaalam ka pa, but when you're adult, it's as if you're thinking that adulting is cool. So parang cool maging adult, pero how does it feel to become an adult, or how is it like to become an adult? Now, we need to understand that your stage today, you're an adolescent. So adolescence is in between childhood and adulthood. Meaning to say, adolescence is a transition from being a child to become an adult. Now the question is, what are the things that we need to know in us today as we transition towards adulthood? That's what we are yun yung pag-uusapan natin ngayon. How is growing up like, especially today in your stage as an adolescent? Let's begin. Tignan niyo yung babae sa picture ko. Para siyang nag-iisip, growing up. So did you even ask yourself, how is it like to grow up? So let's talk about growing up. Is growing up like this? Makikita niyo si Mare. Meron siyang hawak-hawak na papel. So it looks like that this woman is in work. So is growing up like working or having your own responsibility, like owning a business, being employed, taking some salary, supporting the family? Or is it like this? Diba? Stig, meron siyang abs. Meron din ako niyan in my dreams. So, is growing up like being cool, bodily cool, physically cool? Kasi nung bata ka, medyo payatot ka, hindi ka masyadong concerned sa yung katawan. Is growing up like this? Or is it like this? Having romantic relationship? Hindi ka na bata. So parang, I know in your stage today, you're beginning to feel attraction towards opposite sex, even the same sex, of course. Or not attractive at all, but normally we feel attracted to other people, especially to the opposite sex, and we begin to form romantic relationship. Okay? Parang sila, kala nila may forever. Meron naman, totoo yun. Right, so growing up, of course, we do not stay as a baby. We always grow up. So magiging jutanders din tayo sa pagdating ng panahon. So ikaw to, nung bata ka, sipunin ka, dumidede ka pa, meron ka pang chupon. Yan, ito yung mga panahon na tinutukso ka ng yung mga kaklase kasi sipunin ka, payatot ka. Ito medyo mature na. Ito yun. So, I imagine this as in adolescent. Ikaw to. So, you are here. Diba? So, adolescence, perhaps from ages 11 until 21. Did you know? Ito po, nabasa ko to sa research. Adolescence is determined first by physical changes. So, mean to say, physical changes start, or radical physical changes, or fast physical changes happen when you are 11. Normally, sa mga babae, sila yung nauna kasi. Ang tawag natin dyan, you learn this from your high school, puberty stage. Normally, ang mga babae ang nauna. Then, sumusunod ng mga lalaki. Kaya napapansin nyo minsan, yung mga babae, pag mga grade 6, mas matangkad sila kaysa sa mga lalaki. Pero pagdating ng high school, na-overtake ka nito ng mga lalaki. Kasi mga lalaki, usually the puberty starts at 12 to 13. For girls, 9, as early as 9. Some will even start their menstrual cycle. Okay, yung menarche yung tinatawag natin. So this, I imagine this, perhaps this boy is already in his 14 or 15. So in high school life already. So ikaw to. This one is young adult. This one is adult. Ito, nag-retire na siya. So medyo late adulthood. And this one is of course the very late adulthood. Parang old age na. So here you are. Now we will talk about growing up in this stage, being adolescent, being an adolescent, right? So let's start. Our life, of course, is affected by the various forms of development naturally and inevitably happening in us. It's a part of life. Wala tayong magagawa. We will always inevitably grow. No? Just like a plant, no? You cannot stop a plant from growing. Just like yourself, you cannot stop yourself from growing. But of course, growing is not just about this. Sige, pero eto muna, sige. As your assignment, I want in your journal, please create an aphorism. Alam niyo ba yung aphorism? Para siyang brief statement, para siyang kasabihan that describes what growing up is like. So, ang mga aphorisms like, parang motto, pero not really motto, para siyang a short statement that describes a very comprehensive concept, just like growing up. So, parang mga backward is not forward. Kung naglalaro kayo ng mga Battle Realms o yung mga Dota, maraming aphorisms dyan. Parang, pwede nyo sabihin is, growing up is like a roller coaster full of ups and downs. So I want you to express your own version of growing up, personal experiences of growing up, and you summarize it in one sentence. Ibigyan ko kayo ng 5 minutes, or you can just pause this PowerPoint show. Alright, sige, let's proceed. So, assuming that you're already done with your assignment. Right. Now, development in a human being is not just about the physical development. Yes, we grow physically. Dati, 10 inches ka lang, 10 inches. Sige ba, basta 1 foot. Hanggang sa ikaw ay ngayon ay 5 feet or even 6 feet tall, especially mga NCAA players o yung mga basketball players natin. Now, it's inevitable to speak about the aspects of human development. We have the physical, cognitive, social, and moral. Physical, of course, you already knew that in your dimensions of the self. Cognitive, the mind, how you think. Social, how you deal with other people. Moral, perhaps it's how you develop your perspective about what is good and what is bad. This one is something new. Right, let's proceed. So let's have them one. And don't forget, all of these aspects of moral development, they are all interconnected. Ayan, buti na lang may sulat pala ito. Okay, interconnected sila. Connect na lang kayo, ha. So lahat yan, they are all interconnected. They are all pieces of one puzzle. One will not exist without the other. They coexist. As one develops, so as the other. So basically, physical, they are connected to the cognitive development, sometimes moral, and of course socio-emotional, right? Sige, proceed tayo. Now, let's go first with the physical and biological development. Did you know that the adolescent stage can be considered as a very stormy and very challenging stage? Why? Because this is the stage where most of the physical and neurobiological development occurs. So very fast ang nangyayari dyan. So starting with puberty until the age of 22, dyan nangyayari yung parang, dyan nagiging busy ang katawan mo dahil that's the time that your body really experience a lot of changes. A lot of changes physically and neurobiologically. Dito nabubuo yung mga neurons nyo, dumarami, interconnect sa isa't isa. yung muscles nyo, they rapidly grow, the bones, everything, right? But of course, it happens in puberty. Again, kanina sabi natin mas nauna ang mga babae, then mga sunod ang mga lalaki usually. So the starting with puberty, the body matures in all its aspect and even its sexual characteristics. Going back to growing up physically, of course, alam niyo naman to eh. You're all familiar with it because napapansin nyo, for example lang, yung mga buhok nyo, di ba? Dati dito lang, pero ngayon, meron ka ng buhok dito, dito, at saka dito, di ba? Buhok. A lot of physical changes. So, dati yung boses mo, maliit lang. Kumusta kayo pare? Pero ngayon, malaki na, di ba? So, maraming changes. Dati-dati, ano pa ba? Yung dati, makinis pa yung mukha mo. Yun, ang dami ng pimples, tagyawat. Sometimes, iniisip mo, ano ba to? Mukhang may mukha na tinubuan ng tagyawat o tagyawat na tinubuan ng mukha. Joke lang. Alright, so, during the stage, again, dito nagsisimula ang sexual characteristics. Dito nagsisimula ang sexual development. This is the time na parang, because during childhood, parang latent pa yun eh. Parang at rest pa yung sexual, pero meron na rin konti kahit pa paano. Parang may sexual curiosity ka nung bata ka. Pero dito siya nag-a-arise during the adolescent period. Kasi different hormones are already starting to activate, especially with girls. Estrogen, the hormone that are making girls, and testosterone that are making boys. So these are two unique hormones, estrogen unique to the girls and testosterone unique to the boys. Of course, meron ding mga konting percent siguro ng testosterone sa babae, pero very konti lang. And estrogen meron din sila, very konti lang. Pero alam nyo ba, I don't know if this is really true, but I just heard that a research was found that yung mga manok daw, for example huwag tayong mag-name ng mga company. For example, yung mga fast food. Napapansin yung mga manok nila, di ba? Ang lalaki. Saan nila nakuha yung mga manok na yun? And some reports says that parang nilalagyan daw sila ng estrogen. Yun yung mga nagpapalaki sa hita ng babae. Kaya estrogen is the hormone that are making girls. And ang nangyayari daw, pag kinakain daw yun ng mga, for example, lalaki, parang na-alter daw yung hormonal balance sa katawan at dumarami yung estrogen level ng lalaki. Kaya nagiging effeminate ang lalaki. Kaya totoo siguro yung sinasabi na iba, nakakabakla yung Jollibee. Sorry. Nakakabakla yung fast food chain or what. I don't know if that's really true. But I'm just saying that hormonal development are already starting during this stage, and it's very rapid, right? So start active. Kaya nga mapapansin nyo the physical changes, and later on we will talk about it more in the socio-emotional development. The physical changes may influence how you act externally. So kasi tumataas yung sexual activity sa katawan, so you start being attracted to another sex or opposite sex or even same sex for the homosexuals. All right? So that's siguro yan lang yung gusto kong point na iparating sa inyo, that our physical body experience and neurobiological aspects of ourselves are changing rapidly during this time, and they influence the other aspects of human development, moral and the like, right? So the brain grows rapidly but matures slower. So very rapid siya sa adolescent period, pero pagkatapos ng adolescent period medyo bumababa na siya. Kaya nga makikita natin sa adolescent period napaka-idealistic ng isang bata o ng isang tao. Dito yung mga, pag sinabi mga aktivista, talagang dito yan sa mga usual na mga very active na mga activist are adolescent. Kasi parang dito yung parang very fast yung growth ng brain eh. So parang yung, pati yung katawan, pati yung intellect nag-a-adjust na. The brain grows through various stages of building connections with the neurons to allow functionalities of physical aspect. This is associated with the fact that learning a particular talent at a very young age is better than learning it later on. So perhaps this is an explanation kung bakit mas magandang magsimula kang mag-ensayo na kung anong gusto mong ma-develop later on in life. For example, pag gusto mong matutong mag-basketball, you start it from here. Or even in your childhood. Pero, kasi ang nangyayari, as your brain grows rapidly during this time, a lot of neural connections are being built. So, yung mga bagay na ina-associate mo doon or sinasabay mo doon sa pag-grow ng mga neural connections, para siyang na-incorporate ng katawan mo because it goes along with your brain. And our brain prioritizes connections that are exercised regularly. So, for example, dito sa stage ito, mahilig ka mag-basketball. So, the body adjusts to your activity and it signals to the brain. And what happens is the brain provides or builds connections that are suitable for that kind of activity. Or for example, mahilig ka sa writing. The body signals the brain that this activity should be the one prioritized kasi parang ito yung lagi nagagamit because your body knows how to adapt. It automatically adapts to your environment. And the brain, as it grows rapidly, parang nagbi-build siya ng mga incidentally it builds neural connections that may support that activity. So structurally, your body was meant for that activity because you're doing that as the brain grows rapidly. So, in short, the brain and how it was wired back to the day when you were an adolescent affects a lot of our behaviors and attitudes, emotional levels, and cognitions. Right? So enough for physical activity. By the way, kung may mga tanong kayo, just write it in your journal. We will answer it during our class. Now here, cognitive development. By the way, we are talking about cognitive development in line with the theory of Jean Piaget. I don't know kung French ba siya pag Jean and yung Jean. So Jean Piaget is a very famous and popular psychologist or educator who is known for his theory cognitive development. Ang sabi ni Jean Piaget, yung utak natin, yung intelligence natin, they also undergo particular development. So, meron tayong apat dyan, sensory motor. Makikita nyo sensory motor, pre-operational stage. So, these are the associated years for each stage, 0 to 2, 2 to 6. Pero huwag nyo isipin na talagang definite yan. Of course, individuals may have their own peculiarity. So, concrete operational, 7 to 12, formal operational. So, isa-isahin natin, just a summary, okay? Now, by the way, if you want more details, you can research about it or read it from your book. So, in sensory motor stage, infant, kasi 0 to 2 years old pa nga, the infant explores the world through direct sensory and motor contact. Object permanence and separation, anxiety develop during this stage. So, sensory and motor contact. Sa stage na ito, ang bata usually learns and gets contact into the world through sensory experience. So, ang bata dito, hindi pa siya marunong mag-isip talaga ng malalim kasi sensual pa lang. Kaya naman, kikita nyo, pag binigyan nyo ang bata ng laruan, kala nyo, kahit gaano kaganda ng laruan na yun, hindi nyo ma-appreciate ng bata kasi hindi niya alam, hindi naman siya distinguish kung maganda ba yung laruan na yun o hindi. O, kahit bigyan mo siya ng mamahaling Barbie, ang gagawin niya, kakagatin niya lang. Kasi nga, sensory. Makikita, usually ang mga naka-attract na mga colors sa mga bata, yung mga red, yung mga matitingkad na kulay. Kala nyo kasi gusto nila red, hindi. Because they were just sensory at the environmental stimuli is just para siyang nagtitrigger dun sa attention ng bata. Kasi yung bata nga, they usually contact the world and learn from the world through sensory experience. Object permanence and separation anxiety develop during this stage. So, separation anxiety, of course, pag iniwan mo ang bata, example, nanay, punta na sa tindahan, iyak ang bata kasi feeling niya, iiwan na siya. And, saglit lang. Alright, so basically, object permanence, para siyang, dito na nare-realize ng bata na kahit hindi niya makita ang bagay, it will still continue to exist. Ito yung transition point that connects sensory motor no, to pre-operational stage. Pag na-achieve ng bata yung ganyang klaseng thinking na he believes that this book will still exist even without me looking at it. Okay? So, para siyang stepping stone towards pre-operational stage. Now, pre-operational stage, what is unique about this stage is that the child uses symbols. Ito na yun. So, kids already learn about words and that certain words symbolize a particular object. Say, for example, water, mamam, minsan yung mga, di ba, mamam, yayay, yung mga bata. Pero of course, water, water, alam na ng bata ko ano tong water na, ano tong word na ito, what is the term used for this particular object. So for example, keys, alam na ng bata yan. So in this stage, the kids are already somehow attracted or their attention is being attracted to letters, words, symbols. Kasi dito na nagsisimula. Pero pag 0 to 2 years old pa, hindi mo pa ma-appreciate yung mga ganyan. Hindi mo pa pwedeng turuan ng bata na A, B, C, D. Pero perhaps, kasi ewan ko, I still don't know if this theory of Jean Piaget still applies now. Especially today with the spur of technology. Yung mga bata ngayon, yung pinapanood na lang sa YouTube, yung mga A is for apple, 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 apple. So parang para siyang nagiging advanced na yung cognitive development ng mga bata ngayon. So parang hindi na natin nasusunod talaga yung age. Kasi may nakilala ako, yung may anak niya, hindi pa nga 2 years old, pero talagang alam na yung ABC. I'm not really sure kung talagang alam niya yung ABC dahil it symbolizes some objects or alam niya lang yun dahil attracted lang siya dun sa song na associated dun sa ABC kasi pinapanood siya nung TV na may mga kantang A is for apple, 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 B is for ball, ball, pangit ang pagdugtungan. Okay, sige. Yun na lang pre-operational stage. Alright, and it also has the ability to pretend. Dito na yung time na yun na pretend siya. Ewan ko lang. Pero dati may kapatid ako. Ito, naalala ko yung kapatid ko. Talagang yung tawag dyan, lagi kami magkaaway dati nung bata kami. So, ang ginagawa niya, pretend siya na umiiyak, kunwari, at parang inaaway ko daw siya para pagalitan ako ng nanay ko, para gumante. Right? So, during this stage, a child is egocentric. So, wag kayong magtaka kung bakit ang kapatid niyong maliit na nasa edad na ito, laging ang sarili ang iniisip niya. Kasi egocentric talaga sila. Feeling nila, they are the center of the universe. Center of the world. Center of attention. Kaya makikita may mga bata talagang KSP kulang sa pansin because that's natural. Their cognitive development somehow supports them to do likewise. Right? And next is the concrete operational. So, ang tawag dyan, focus on the word, yung mga nauna sa operational. Here, in this concrete operational stage, the child can think logically about concrete objects and can thus add and subtract. The child also understands conservation. This is the time that kids can easily be taught about mathematical operations. So 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. Kasi andito na yung nagsa-start yung logic eh. So parang kung dito siguro sa pre-operational stage, di mo ma-expect talaga yung bata na siguro alam nila yung 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2. Somehow, through memorization. Somehow may mga bata ding marunong talaga. Pero siguro hindi siya kasing sophisticated ng isang bata na nasa concrete operational stage. Right? So, he can already start somehow thinking about things abstractly. So, he also understands conservation. What do you mean by conservation? For example, beaker tsaka yung graduated cylinder. So yung beaker, di ba, medyo mataba yun. Tapos graduated cylinder para siyang pahaba. Now, for example, you will be putting the same amount of water in these two containers. syempre kung titingnan mo, mas mahaba talaga ang tubig, ang level of water sa graduated cylinder compared sa beaker kasi mas mahaba nga. Pag tinanong mo ang bata na nasa pre-operational stage kung alin ang mas marami, they will point out yung sa graduated cylinder kasi yun yung mas mahaba. However, a child or an individual in the concrete operational stage knows that even if mas mahaba ang water than the graduated cylinder, they still have the same amount of water, the same as with the beaker kasi they already know the principle of measurement, the length, the volume of water, and the like. So yun po yun. And of course, the last but not the least, the peak of the cognitive development, 12 years old until adulthood, is the formal operational stage. So why formal? This is the time that a person can already think abstractly. So para siyang can already make sense of abstract ideas like concepts. So ito yung mga kaya makikita nyo, mapapansin ninyo, yung educational system natin, they are step by step, nagsisimula sa pinaka simple hanggang sa pinaka mahirap. So do you expect a child learning calculus in a sensory motor stage, in a pre-operational stage? Of course not, because calculus is a very abstract concept in mathematics. So for example, gusto mo matuto ng mathematics sa isang bata, for example sa sensory motor, sisimulan mo siya sa something which is concrete. For example, a box. So 1 box plus 1 box, or 2 box. So 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Then pre-operational stage, pagiging complicated, hanggang sa nagiging complicated. And then formal operational stage that you can already teach a child or an individual how to do calculus or even algebra or analytical geometry. Drastic yung mga terms na yun. Kaya pangalan pa lang mahirap na. Okay, let's proceed. Now here, so we are done with physical development, cognitive development. Now let's talk about moral development. When you say moral, it's how you perceive what is right from what is wrong. So how do you base, or what is your standard about what is right and what is wrong? Or what are your motivations to do what is right? Or what are your motivations to avoid what is bad? Alright? Ito yung tanong natin. Now, we will be using Lawrence Kohlberg theory of moral development. So, makikita nyo ngayon, meron siyang pyramid, like a pyramid. Pyramid siya, ganyan. So, magsisimula siya. So, makikita nyo ngayon, simula tayo sa pinakauna, down sa up hanggang sa pinaka-huling stage ng moral development. So, basically, this is the complete moral development of a person. However, unlike the other aspects of development like physical and cognitive, which the person inevitably may reach the top or the peak of the development, here in the moral development, it's different. This is not inevitable. Sometimes, here in moral development, it's a choice. Siguro, pwede kang mamatay na hanggang level 3 ka lang, or you can end up with level 4, or swerte ka kapag nakapag level 6 ka. And sadly, there are people who stay in stage 1 even until their adulthood stage. So, yun ang ating pag-iisipan. Now, ano ba ang moral development ni Lawrence Kohlberg? Let's make it in a more detailed manner. So, paano ba tong video ko? Nakaharang naman dito sa PowerPoint. Paano may lipat to? Hindi mo nilipat. Alright, sige. Off ko na lang muna. Okay. So, makikita nyo ngayon, adopting Kohlberg's chart of moral values development. So, ito yung pre-conceptual morality, conventional morality, post-conceptual morality. So, each, yung nakikita nyo na 6 yun, di ba? Yung 6 na yun, pwede mo silang i-categorize into 3 levels. Yan. So, each level has 2 stages. Makikita nyo ngayon, ito yung mga main question to summarize what motivates a person to do good and avoid bad in this stage. Ito called individual view, in the point of view of the individual person, the point of view of many individual persons. So sa preconceptual morality or pre-convention, dito conceptual actually, conventional to dapat eh. Conventional yan ah. So pag sinabi yung conventional, di ba, convention, kasi yung convention para siyang standard or para siyang conventional within the standard or within the norm. Kaya pre-conventional, before the norm or before the standard. Right? So may two stages yan. The first stage is the right and wrong stage. So balikan natin yung, ayun na bumalik mo sa una. So right and wrong stage. Paano ba to? Ayun bumalik dun sa next slide. Sa last slide. Right? So ito yung stage na kung saan ang tao nagtatanong siya, can I avoid punishment? So, ganito yan. He tends to do good in order to avoid punishment and avoids to do bad in order to avoid punishment. So, say for example, ayokong magtapon ng basura dito sa classroom kasi baka kasi baka bibigyan ako ng deduction ni sir. Di ba? You're afraid of the punishment. That's why you are motivated to do the right thing. Say for example, another example would be mag-aaral ako ng mabuti ngayon kasi alam kong papagalitan ako ni mama kung hindi ako mag-aaral ng mabuti, or gagawin ko itong assignment ko ngayon dahil takot ako kay papa baka hindi niya ako bigyan ng allowance. Diba? So in this is the least of all the moral stages. So avoiding punishment. Dito naman sa pangalawa, what's in it for me? It seems like this is the selfish stage. Gagawa ka lang ng tama kasi alam mo meron kang matatanggap na reward. Kung sa una avoiding punishment, dito naman being attracted to a reward. So for example, mag-aaral ako ngayon kasi alam kong bibilhan ako ni mama ng bagong damit or bagong iPhone, yung iPhone X Plus, para pag ako'y nakapasa or naging top. Di kaya magtatakbo ako ng bilang SC president o di kaya isang officer ng sa classroom namin para masabi ng mga kapatid ko na cool ako, na lodi ako. Di ba? So what's in it for me? You tend to do good in order to take a reward and avoid doing bad things so that such reward will not be taken from you. Okay? So, ganun yun. That's the preconceptual stage. Now, preconventional stage. So, makikita nyo ngayon, the basis of morality in the preconventional stage is the self. Diba? Ikaw sa sarili mo. Paano ako makaka-avoid ng punishment? Paano ako makakuha ng reward? Sa conventional morality, this is the time when you use an abstract standard like religion, for example, laws, for example, or parang basihan, batas, para masabi mo na you are doing right or doing bad. So, dito sa pre-conventional stage, how will you know what is right from what is wrong? You base from the benefit or from the benefit to yourself, right? Here, what is right and wrong, you base it in a particular standard. Either some of us, especially Filipinos, we base our standard from religion. So here, the stage 3 is following social norms, interpersonal agreement, and conformity. I'm a good citizen. Ang ginagawa mo dito, you tend to follow what is right because it is done by most people. Right? So para sa'yo, paano malalaman ng isang bagay ay tama? Ang sagot dito, kung ginagawa ng karamihan dito sa stage na yan. Para kang bandwagon mentality. So for example, uy, okay pala si LeBron James. Kaya doon ka na, kasi marami ang nagkakagusto kay LeBron James sa kanyang basketball skills. So doon ka na rin, kahit hindi ka naman mahilig sa basketball, nakikiuso ka. Right? Pwede ding okay lang palang magtapon ng basura kasi ginagawa naman nila. O, di ba? May experience ako na ganyan eh. May isang beses, bumili ako sa karinderya. Sinabi ko, kuya, huwag mo ilagay sa plastic. At tinanong niya, bakit di ilalagay? Kasi po, bawal po yan. Ang sagot niya sa akin, ginagawa nga ng SM eh. O, ginagawa ng maraming tindahan eh. Hindi ito masama. Di ba? So, you tend to do good and avoid bad in order not to deviate from the mob. For the fourth development, law and order. Ito na yon. Ang basihan mo ngayon, ang batas. Kung ano yung nakasulat sa batas, yun. Hindi mo kailangang baguhin yun. I collaborate to maintain law and order. For example, ito yung mentality ng mga Pharisees sa panahon ni Jesus Christ. Naalala niyo naman siguro yung kwento ko yan, yung tipong one time si Jesus Christ ang kanyang disciple on a Sabbath day, they harvested in a wheat kasi pagod na pagod sila from their ministry. Tapos nakita sa mga Pharisees, sabi ng mga Pharisees, uy, bawal yan. Hindi yan pwede dito kasi Sabbath day, ba't kayo gumawa ng trabaho? Pero anong sagot ni Jesus Christ? Man was not created for Sabbath, but Sabbath was created for man. Ibig sabihin, Jesus Christ just wanted to say that laws are good. However, they cannot be applied to some of the situations. Malaman natin mamaya kung anong level ng morality meron si Jesus Christ. Now, ang mga Pharisees, no. You can never compromise with the law. This is the stage where you are always sticking to the letter. Kung ano nakasaad sa batas, yun at yun na yun. Right? Sa post-conventional stage naman, ito na yun, beyond, parang above the law. Dito na yung sinasabi ni Jesus Christ that man is above the Sabbath or man is above the law. So dito sa social contract, ang basihan mo dyan is parang ito yung may mga time dito sa stage na to, dito mo nare-realize na may mga batas na hindi naman talaga applied para sa kabutihan. Or sometimes you're seeing that may mga batas na obsolete na hindi mo na pwedeng i-apply sa panahon ngayon. So for example, kahit sinasabi ng lipunan mo na mga babae bawal manligaw yan kasi dapat Maria Clara. Tapos ang iniisip mo, bakit ako makikinig? Kagustuhan ko to. I see this as the best possible option na gagawin ko, na ako ang magsabi na aking feelings dun sa lalaking iniirog ko. I think Maria Clara is not anymore applicable. So ganito ang mga thinking ng mga tao niyan. So is it bad? For Lawrence Kohlberg, he is saying that as the moral development increase, sometimes we tend to think beyond what is written in the law. And we think to go above the law. And that was what exactly Jesus wants us to realize, that sometimes laws cannot be applied to all situations. Right? Ito medyo, dito sa stage na to, medyo may pagka-rebellious siguro ang tao. Para siyang si Duterte. Feeling ko si Duterte kasi masyado siyang remember his statement about God is stupid. I think he is not really saying that God, the actual God, is really stupid, but he is just pointing out that perhaps the belief of the Catholic Church may be obsolete. Pero I'm not saying that Duterte is in this stage. I'm not saying that he is higher than the law, but I'm just saying that I'm just pointing it as an example na baka yun. So of course, medyo rebellious pa dito sa stage na to. Unlike this stage, the last stage, the universal principles for mutual respect. In this case, The individual thinks that I have an obligation to disobey unjust laws and commit myself to follow the ones that are grounded in justice and well-being. Dito sa fifth stage, own principles ka nagbabase. Parang nagiging base, you become the measure of all things, your own principles. But this time, it's the universal principle. Kung ano yung applied sa karamihan. You tend to do the right thing, that may be best not just for you, but also for others around you. So meaning to say, you do good because you know it can be beneficial not just for you, but also for others. You tend to avoid bad because, or you tend to not to do a particular decision, a particular action, because you know it might be good to you, but it might not be good for other people. Alright? So parang si Jesus Christ. No? Jesus Christ, although he was a Jew, tend to violate some Jewish traditions. Yung ano yung sinasabi ng society, sabi ng lipunan sa panahon ng Jesus Christ, dapat hindi ka makipaghalubilo sa mga makasalanan. Pero anong ginawa ni Jesus Christ? Nakipag-inuman pa siya at nakipag-piesta sa mga may makasalanan. Hindi kasi siya dito. Kung andito siya sa good citizen, sabihin ni Jesus Christ siguro sa sarili niya, ayoko pumunta dyan, baka ano yung sabihin ng ibang tao sa akin. But no. Jesus Christ chose to be with the sinners because he know that sinners can still have chance to transform into goodness. Di ba? So, kung andito dito siya, sabihin niya, di ako pupunta doon kasi di ako may paghalubilo sa sino kasi yun yung nakasaad sa batas. Di ba? So, this is more liberating beyond the laws. Pero may mga nakakaabot ba dito? Meron naman. Pero of course, bihira. Pero of course, kaya naman lahat yan. We are all designed to reach all of this moral development. However, sir, the question is, kung andito na ako sa stage na ito, stage 6, is it still possible that sometimes I am motivated to do moral things out from the other motivations, yung mga prior motivations? So, for example, kung andito na ako sa 6th stage, pwede pa rin ba ako ma-motivate na gumawa ng tama base sa self-interest orientation? The answer is yes, it's still possible. However, if you're already in this stage, most of the time, generally, you are doing good and avoiding bad because you know you know that it can be beneficial to you and to other people, right? Next, kung may hindi naintindihan, sulat lang po ng mga tanong at babalikan natin yan sa ating klase. Right, balik na ako ang aking mukha. Right, so now next, the last aspect of development, is the socio-emotional development. Now, the beauty of the development is that it is not limited to ourselves alone, but it extends and branches out to other people. Now, things spiral a bit more out of control when puberty starts in the individual. Kaya sabi ko, in this stage, the adolescent is feeling parang a stormy feeling inside himself because of the rapid changes, not just physically but also cognitively. This also marks the more fortified connection between cognition, affect, and behavior in more obvious ways. The connection of the emotional and social aspect also strengthens. Now, dito nagsisilabasan or nagsisidevelop ang ating mga hormones. And hormones, later on in our lessons, we will realize that they are connected to the emotions that we feel. So, the connection of the emotions, so misunderstanding, kaya may mga misunderstanding between parents and adolescents kasi parang naninibago yung adolescents sa parang dahil sa mga physical change, hormonal changes na nagko-cause ng emotional imbalance or emotional disturbance. Parang it branches out to the socio-emotional aspect. Kaya yung relationship with the parents naapektuhan din. Kaya normal lang minsan nagkaka-misunderstanding ang parents at ang adolescents. Kasi sa part ng adolescence, para siya nag-a-adjust sa kanyang katawan at sa emotions sa feel niya. Kaya minsan na-feel niya, mabilis kayo mairita, Di katulad ng bata kayo, binibaby kayo ng mama nyo, ng tatay nyo, kinikiss kayo, okay lang, pero ngayon parang, uy, ano ba yan? Di ba? So parang, the emotional changes are already starting to occur. But as puberty comes to a close and the adolescent gets accustomed to the drastic changes that his or her body went through during the phase, one learns that self-esteem ideally is internal and should not be bound on outside factors. And handling and coping with rejection is an accurate measure of emotional maturity. Now, because of the changes that is happening both cognitively, morally, and physically, these changes also influence how you deal socially, right? Now, yet as human beings, we cannot help but be imperfect as we are. Sino bang perfect dito sa mundo, di ba? Wala naman. We are all imperfect. We have all encountered a lot of mistakes, encountered a lot of misunderstandings with the people close to us, and thanks to the development that is happening to us. Siguro, para sa atin, very big deal na yung mga nangyayari sa atin, pero just understand that some of them are just caused by the sudden changes that are happening in you. It is natural to feel, to be angry, jealous, hurt, or anxious. Natural lang yan. Walang problema dyan. Kung tingin nyo ngayon, siguro, feeling nyo hindi kayo normal kasi ganito nafe-feel nyo ngayon, mabilis kayo mairita, sensitive kayo, ano pa ba yan? Parang ang dami yung tanong sa buhay, huwag kayong mag-alala kasi hindi lang kayo nakaka-feel yan. All of the adolescents, even ako, I have undergone that stage. However, this is the most important thing that we must realize. How one copes with the negative experiences and bounces back to be a better person or to become better is a very good trait that you must develop. Right? So just to end our discussion, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. It still depends on our choice. Right? I think that's the end. So thank you very much for listening. And I hope you have recorded your questions because we'll try to answer them next meeting. So this has been your host, Mr. Matthew Doming, saying good night kasi matutulog na, no? May bugs ko lumalaki na. And always learn how to deal with life maturely. So whatever you're feeling now, they are all normal. However, of course, there are times that we need help. For example, we are undergoing really extreme sadness. That's not normal anymore. Turmoil or parang adjustment period is normal. However, if we cannot do it alone, never hesitate to ask help. You have your parents, you have your teachers, you have your guidance counselors, you have all those people whom you can run on. Just be careful saan ka pupunta kasi sometimes some people cannot really help us. May mga taong pinupuntahan natin na feeling natin magkakatiwalaan natin pero pinapalala lang ang problema. So just go to your trusted people like your parents, teachers, and your guidance counselors, or even hire a professional kapag kailangan nyo talaga ng tulong. So this has been your host. Thank you and good night. Sleep tight and see you tomorrow.